Hi, my name is Benjamin Katz, and welcome to the first official vlog for the Great American Zig-Zag, where today I'll be biking from Connecticut through Rhode Island into Massachusetts via the East Coast Greenway. The East Coast Greenway is a north to south bike path running the entirety from Florida to Maine. Today I'm going to be going about 35 miles, all on my Brompton right here. I've parked my car, and I really think there's nothing to it but to get started. I got 2 liters of water in my bag, I got 2 energy bars. I am not wearing the proper shoes, but I am all sunscreened up, so I think that I should be ready to get started. I have no idea how long this video is going to be. I'm just going to sort of be sharing my thoughts along the way. I hope you enjoy this journey as much as I hopefully will, and hopefully my legs won't be deceased by the end of this trip, although they very well may, because the longest bike ride I've ever done in my life has been for 45 miles, and that was done just last week. So let's see what happens. I think it's going to take about 8.5 hours total, because I want to stop for lunch and stop to take pictures and whatnot. But yeah, I'm excited. Hope you enjoy the ride. Okay, I'm about 1 mile in, and I am aware of how ridiculous I look. This is for sun protection. I really don't like putting sunscreen on, so when I wear sun shirts like this, it helps me to actually stay UV protected. So that'll be look for the rest of the video, but I hope it's not too distracting. So far, it's been a lovely trail. I believe this is the Moose Up State Trail. That's what they call it, because they'll have sections of state trail along the path, and it's just serene. It's a little gravel trail, but it's packed earth underneath. There's of course some running options to the side, and there's green everywhere. Okay, so I might be a bit of an idiot. I am currently on an old rail trail, which is demonstrably not a biking path. And I have now had to go through several very rough terrain sections where I had to literally walk my bike for half a mile at a time because of sand or because of water on the path. And you know, it's not necessarily the East Coast Greenway's fault, but the signage was not obvious. Because I was supposed to turn from this rail trail onto a street, and there was improper signage to make me make that turn. Okay, so I suffered a bit for the consequences of my own actions. I was a bit stupid. I didn't go on the right trail. I instead did an entire 4-mile segment of essentially a hiking trail. But now I'm back on the East Coast Greenway, and it is serene. I've just hit 10 miles on this trip, and I just want you to, it is a double lane, paved, flat, straight bike path with a canopy of trees overhead. Whenever you see the sun, you're seeing these beautiful, immaculate views. It's the strangest thing. I biked by a sign that said pedestrians should walk on the left of the trail facing bikes. I don't think I've ever seen signage like that before, but it makes sense, right? Because if a bicyclist is rounding a corner and they're dinging their bell, the pedestrian can move aside, but the bicyclist might not see them until it's too late. But if the pedestrians are on the left side of the path, the bike trail is entirely open. Then the only passing maneuvers are when a biker is going opposite the pedestrians. But then there's a lot more runway, and the pedestrians and the bikes can see each other and actively make eye contact and gesture with body language. It's really smart, and especially for like a two-way bike path like this. Wonderful. Wonderful. Good job, Ryland. Good job. And it's so quiet. I've been hearing just so much road noise so consistently that it's turned into just a background hum and droll. But on this bike path, I am hearing crickets, I am hearing the sound of nature, I'm hearing bird calls, and it's all so peaceful. And everyone I bike by is giving me a nod, I give them a nod back. It's just friendly. Oh man, I love this path so much. Just one more thing, check this out. I think this used to be an old train platform that they kept up, or it's just for decoration. But like there's a rail and a platform. I would guess that used to be a platform, but I did not actually see any historical signs, so who knows? I am not a local guide. Okay, 15 miles in and going strong. I have passed by several old railway monuments, essentially showing that this used to be a railway. And it's also apparent in the style of bridges that I'm going across. Like this is 100% a railway bridge. This industrial design, it's beautiful. I love it. I'm always a fan of these like rust-covered old bridges that are reminiscent of an ancient time when railway ruled this nation. I yearn for that. It's come back. Please, let's rebuild our railways. Because I'm not gonna lie, if this was a railway, if this nation was full of rail, I'd be doing a Great American Zig-Zag across our rail system as opposed to the cars. I would love that. But 'tis not in the cards for my future. I lament. Okay, I've just hit 20 miles and I'm still going strong. I'm starting to get a bit peckish, but I do think that I can finish out the Rhode Island portion without eating. Because I do kind of want to try to get some lunch in Providence. I think that'd be a good place to sort of bike around. See if there are any good food options. I am right now craving a burger. It is often the case that when I bike, I crave a burger. But we'll see what ends up happening. And while one could assume that I am vegan based on my biking and rail transit fanaticism, I actually love food in every sense of the word, and I think meat absolutely belongs in my diet because it tastes good. I definitely don't like consuming too much for an environmental standpoint, but I'm not gonna cut off my meat supply because that stuff's tasty and it's really high in protein, and there's a reason why it's one of our staple foods across the millennia. It's just good. Chomp down on a good burger, oh my god. Especially after a long bit of cardio, 100%. I do try to get like sustainably sourced beef when I can, because that's better for the environment and it tastes better. That's the more important part. But I 100% understand those that don't want to or can't engage in a vegan lifestyle. I'm not asking people to go vegan. I'm just asking people to go biking. So as I'm biking down this pristine paved and painted section of the East Coast Greenway, I just want to give a bit of background on my biking history, because I am not some distance biker supreme. I grew up the son of a biking fanatic, I will admit. My father is arguably one of the most passionate biking enthusiasts I have ever met. And what he'll do is he used to bike me everywhere. We had a thing called a tag-along that you'd attach like essentially one wheel to the back of a regular bike and make it a bike for two. He got a tandem bicycle at some point in my life. And really, if ever I asked him to go anywhere, it would never be by car. He would always bike me. And while that frustrated the heck out of me for many years of my life, I have come to appreciate sort of the serene nature that exists when one is biking. But oftentimes when we would be biking, it would be painful. It would be on public roads with no bike access. We would be directly in the same lanes as cars. People would be honking. We'd be running red lights, and it'd overall be a negative and stressful experience. And I think that's why so many people dislike biking is because there are no easy commuter-friendly options to get from point A to point B via bike. And myself, I still bike to this day, but it's never for distance. I really don't try to bike for distance. Again, this is going to be the longest ride I've done in my life at 70 miles. And I'm doing this with the mindset of someone who's trying to get from point A to point B. If I was trying to get from Sterling, Connecticut to the International Airport in Providence, I could do that via this bike path. if I was trying to get from my house to a local tavern, I could do that via this bike path. And that's really the use case that I would be using for a bike. I'm not trying to go the distance. I'm not trying to get an extreme road bike that can go hundreds of miles at a time. I just want a nice, easy bike with a nice, easy bike path. Because this is just so much more pleasant than driving. And you know, it's healthier too. I'm moving my legs, I'm breathing the fresh air. I'm seeing the nature around me. This is what biking should be. And I lament the fact that this is often not what it is. I so desperately want more paths like this across the entire United States. Connect everything via bike trail. And also by train, but only mentioning that because I'm on a previous train track. It's just so, it's so nice to be able to bike without stress from cars, without the fear of being run off the road, without all these pesky stop signs and traffic lights and crossings and highways interspersing. This is what biking should be. Let's just take a moment to enjoy this blissful sound of nature. So one of the things I love most about this trail so far is not just flat, smooth, paved texture, but the fact that there are so many houses along this path. There are so many centers where people can easily hop onto this trail. And then there are centers of commerce that are right off this trail too. I just passed the sign for a tavern. And there are just accessible options by bike everywhere along this trail. And I think part of the mission of the East Coast Greenway is to create this spine. This one unified, clean, easy bike path across the entire north-south East Coast that allows other bike paths to branch off of it. It's honestly one of the smartest solutions I've seen for bike transit. You create the most useful trail first, get use, show people want it and need it, and we'll build around it, and then build bike paths off from there. I would love a national, intra-national bike route, but it all needs to start somewhere, and I think this is a great first location. There are still segments that are on roadways, which I'll show you when they come up, but so far it is blissful biking. And of course I know all the car lovers in the comments will say, oh, what if it's not a perfect 70 degrees and sunny? What if it's 20 degrees and raining and snowing? And what if it's icy? And to that I respond, skill issue. Get good. Right? Like, there is gear for everything. And you know what's a lot cheaper than a car? $150 of bike gear. You know how much car costs nowadays? Like $15,000, $20,000. Even for the old cheap ones, they're expensive. You know how much bikes cost? $300 for a decent bike, secondhand. Go to a local co-op. That stuff's cheap. They give good prices. And bike gear itself, sure, you can spend like $1,000 on the high-end stuff. But for most of the regular bike gear, you're paying like $50 to $100 tops. That's a full order of magnitude. 2 orders of magnitude less than buying a car. You know how much car insurance costs? It's like $1,000 a year minimum. You know how much bike insurance costs? Nothing, because you don't have to be insured to ride a bike. You can just hop on one and ride it. You know how much gas costs? Like $3.50 a gallon in most places. You know how much bikes cost? The cost of food, which is arguably rising, but it's still a lot less than $3.50 a gallon. Look, the final argument I'm going to make on this point is, how many dogs do you see when you're riding your car? Right? Well, when you're driving your car, how many dogs do you see? 1, 2 maybe, as they stick their head out of the window begging for air. You know how many dogs I've seen? It's in the hundreds at this point. people are walking their dogs and they're so adorable. And I am so happy. Checkmate, car enthusiasts. Okay, this next clip goes directly to the East Coast Greenway Planning Commission. No one else should listen to this, just skip 10 seconds in the future. I would like to see more rest stops, more water fountains. I have now been biking for 20 miles along your very beautiful bike path, but there's been no place to sort of take a short rest and drink some water. On all of our major roadways, we have these rest stops, we have gas stations where people can stop, stretch their legs. On a bike path, I think that's equally important. Like every 5 miles, 25 to 40 minutes, depending on the person, just give me a small break to sit down. Give me some water, refill my water pack. Because I brought 2 liters in, but if I run through that, I have to go off trail and I have to go to a restaurant or a gas station that'll give me water. It'd be really great if you just provide that on the trail. I understand if it's not possible. I understand if the state doesn't want to give away free water. But I think that'd be a great additional service to add to this path that would improve the quality of life for riders. All right, everyone else can start listening again. Okay, just at the 25-mile mark, Google says that it's going to be a 33-mile ride. I'm going to bring it up to 35 because I think 70 miles is a good number to hit. So I'm more than a third of the way through this ride. I'm still feeling good. My legs are starting to ache a little bit, but it's something I can't push through. From the previous ride I did last week, this is more or less general soreness that will go away as I keep pedaling. It's actually surprising how much your legs can stand if you just keep pushing through. I'm not saying push through like any sharp searing pain in your knees. Like if your muscles are sore, that's not a signal to stop. That's just a signal that you're really starting to work those muscles. Okay, I have reached the end of the rail trail portion, and I will now be biking on major roads. But there is one thing missing. The signage telling me where to go next on the Greenway. That's my bike. I love it. Shout out to Brompton. I see no signage whatsoever. No bike route sign, no anything. I am just supposed to where to go next. If this is the Greenway, where is the continuation of the Greenway? Right? I need to know where the path continues. And when there's no signage, it's really confusing, because if I was just trying to continue to follow this path up to Maine, how would I know where to pick it up? Where would I know where to go next? That is a major issue, and that's why I missed the Greenway in the first place when I had to go through a 4-mile section of a hiking path because I just didn't realize I was no longer on the Greenway. We need more signage telling us what there is, because if it just cuts off abruptly at a T-junction, what am I supposed to do with that? National Greenway Commission, I'm talking to you now. Fix this, please. But I do want to note, that entire path, lovely, spectacular. I cannot ask for a better biking experience. Once it ends, I need a better biking experience. Please. I love this trail with my heart and soul. A bit better signage would be lovely, though. Okay, so I'm right now biking through the city of Providence, Rhode Island, and I even double-checked the map to make sure I was on the right path, and I am, in fact, on the National Greenway. And it is not hospitable to bikes. There is no signage. The road is very bumpy and bad for small tires like mine. There are cars all over the place, just taking unique actions that are quite endangering, I'm not going to lie. And I honestly have no idea why this is considered a part of the Greenway. This is just dangerous, to say the least. And inhospitable at best. Okay, I have hit 30 miles, and I just finished biking through the city of Providence, Rhode Island. Wow! Those bike paths are uncoordinated and disorganized. I'm glad they exist, but for through riding, impossible to navigate. I had my phone out the entire time looking at my maps. Right now I'm biking over the river, right along, I think it's 395. And what a beautiful bike trail. What a great section of biking to be. We have the cars over there, but we have a dedicated spot for bikes to ride. It's noisy, yeah, but I'm actually okay with a bit of noise as I cross the river. That's par for the course for bikers. And look at those views. Beautiful. Okay, I have reached 35 miles and I have slightly miscalculated. I thought that I would hit 35 miles as I enter Massachusetts. That is not the case. I am still another 4 miles away from Massachusetts. The time right now is around 1:30 p.m. And I've been biking for about 3 hours and 30 minutes. I think that I can make it back. If I add this extra 8 miles in total, I think I should be fine. It would of course change the route from the start to be from 70 to 80 miles, but I think I can do it. I really just want to hit Massachusetts on a bike, just to say that I biked through 3 states in a day. Like at this point, it's for the meme. It's not for pride. It's not for like completionism. It's literally just for the meme to say that I did it. Yeah, I think I'm gonna tack on an additional 10 miles. That's no more than 50 extra minutes. I'll be back way before dark, and if I am biking in the dark, well, I have fully charged lights on the front and back of my bike. I'll definitely need to spend a bit more money on food, though. I need to consider food. Maybe, because I'll be biking through a commercial area. I might just try to get lunch before I hit Massachusetts. I was planning on getting lunch after I hit Massachusetts, but you know what? Plans change, and this is a bit of a whoopsie on my part. Okay, I've biked 36 miles, and I have decided to stop for a sandwich. I've gotten a caprese sub and a cannoli, because right now I need to cross a throughway, and it is 45 miles an hour, and there is a barrier down the middle. So I have to bike up the throughway until I reach a turnaround point. I'll have to cross 2 lanes of traffic and a turning lane to get to the other side. And that is the only thing stopping me from getting Massachusetts. I can taste it. I can taste the Massachusetts. It's almost there. I'm just going to eat the sandwich first. I just want to point out how good the sandwich looks. It's from Bella's Italian Gourmet. I also have a sweet tooth, so I'm going to start with this cannoli, of course. And oh man, this just looks fresh. They make their own bread. I'm excited to dig into this. Alright, I am back on the road. Another 1.5 miles left to go before I hit Massachusetts. I am currently in a 45 mile an hour stretch, which is very stressful to be on. As you can see, cars are whizzing by me very rapid. While the shoulder is fairly large, there's a lot of road debris on here, like dust and little sharp rocks and stuff. It's not the best place to bike. It's also very exposed to the elements. Not getting a lot of shade. I'm gonna have to reapply sunscreen fairly soon. I think when I hit Massachusetts, I'm gonna reapply. It's for the ride back. Would I recommend biking on this road? Absolutely not. If you had to in emergency, I guess so. Okay, 38.67 miles in, I am now in Seekonk, Massachusetts. My knee hurts. My right knee is starting to like creak a little bit. If I need to, I will take an Uber home, but I think I should be able to make it the entire 40 miles back. The air doesn't feel that different here. It's nice. I'm overlooking a little field. But would I come to Massachusetts again by this route? Absolutely not. The last about 5 to 7 miles were very inhospitable. And yeesh, I do not like biking down these state highways. They are scary because there's practically no shoulder. And, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna reapply sunscreen, drink some water, maybe take a seat for a moment, and I'll catch back up with you in a moment. Oh, and for those wondering, my bike of choice for this entire road trip is a Brompton. This is arguably the best folding bike that exists. It folds down so small and light. I have mine in the 12-speed version, which is really helpful for climbing hills or going down hills. This thing folds down so tight, and it does it in only 15 seconds. And this thing's only 20 pounds too, because I have the titanium version. Overall, I'm in love with this bike. The one gripe I have, I have two gripes about this bike. The first is that this official Brompton front light charges via micro USB, which I can't show unless I want to take it off. But who is still making accessories in 2025 with micro USB? I literally bought it this year with micro USB. Put USB-C on it, please. And the second of which is there is a bike repair kit in my frame, because it's a hollow tube frame. And usually this Brompton sold accessory can go in this front little hatch. However, the T-line's tubing is a little bit different diameter, so it doesn't fit. I have to put it in this longer tube, and it slides all the way down to the bottom, and it rattles around in there. People have made adapters to go in here, but there is currently no first-party Brompton solution, or even a different toolkit altogether, to fit the T-line tubing, and I think that's very silly. Overall, though, I do love the bike. It is a very high-quality bike, and I'll be riding this for the rest of my life. You know, there are actually very few things I hate more than a performative bike route. Now, and you may be asking, what's a performative bike route, Benjamin? Well, a performative bike route is when you put one sign every 2 miles saying, bike route, cars required to keep 4-foot distance from bikes. But the road itself is a 45-mile-an-hour road, and the shoulder, which has no bike lane mentionings, the road itself has no bike lane mentionings, the shoulder itself is 1 foot wide. How are cars supposed to give me the space that I need if them swerving around me is going to hit oncoming traffic? It's really frustrating to see this statement of, oh yeah, we have bike routes, but then the bike routes are the scariest routes to ride. I don't want to ride a bike on these roads. I want a beautiful, paved, clean, friendly, non-car travel
In 600
route.
feet, turn right.
And the fact that Google will navigate me through all these bike routes that the state supposedly has, it's disrespectful, honestly. I think every state could do better in making their bike routes more hospitable to bikers, and treating bikers with the same respect that cars are treated with. Cars are given more space
Turn right,
to park
then turn left.
than the space that the buildings occupy. And bikes aren't even given a spot to lock the bikes up. What is the deal with that? It's disturbing, frankly speaking. Like we have crafted a system of governance to allow for public services that no individual could do alone. That's why we have a government, to provide a service. And the service that I'm getting for this bike route, which should be prioritized at the similar level as cars are, like, don't tell me it's not possible, because we have this infrastructure for cars. Bikes take up 1/8 the space. Why is it so hard to give us an actual proper nationwide bike route when cars have had it for decades? It's upsetting. I want to elect someone that'll give me more bike lanes. Come on. It's like one of my favorite displays of action towards governance that I've ever seen was when a man was advocating for the cleaning of the tap water, because I don't recall the exact specifics, but some pollution was occurring, and the tap water, which was being advocated for by the municipal legislators as clean, was coming out of the tap as brown, sludgy, and smelling like chemicals. And this man brought several cups of his own tap water to a meeting and asked the legislators to drink the water, saying that if they legislated on the fact that this water was clean, then they should have no issues drinking it. And I really think that's a good philosophy to have towards our legislators. They should really understand what the situation is like on the ground. And if they don't, it's our responsibility to show it to them. And show it to them in words they can hear. So I would love for any legislators, national, municipal, state, on the Rhode Island level, to come and bike even 5 miles of this on-road bike routes that they have. And then after they do so, and they're passed by cars at 45 miles an hour, and they're being pushed out of the lane by illegally parked cars, I want them to then look me in the eyes, dead in the eyes, and say, yeah, this is a safe and friendly bike route. Seriously. I would love for any legislator, I'm talking any legislator, to bike this path and tell me that this is a safe and friendly environment for a biker to be on. Because if you don't agree with me, then clearly you haven't been biking these paths. I'm biking these paths and I'm saying, boots on the ground, this should not be acceptable bike routage. This is dangerous at best and deadly at worst. Okay, I'm back on a bike path and I've calmed down a little bit, but I think my point still remains and it's still extremely valid. We see such low usage rates of bikes across our nation. And why is that? Is it because people don't want to bike? I disagree with that philosophy. I think inherently, as human beings, all of us crave the outdoors. Whether or not it has been beaten out of us by our car infrastructure, that's still for debate. But I think intrinsically everyone wants to be outdoors. Everyone wants a green, livable space that they can engage with. And in its current form, our national biking infrastructure is not that. And I genuinely want to make it better. But unless our legislators agree with that, we can't get anything done. So maybe I'll start organizing city hall sit-ins or try emailing my state legislators in Maryland. Because, I know what it's like to have great bike infrastructure. I grew up near DC. And the DC bike infrastructure, while it has its flaws, is still accessible. And they're trying to make it as safe as possible. On these state highways with no medians, cutoffs to the shoulder instantly without warning, and no signage telling drivers to beware of cars, it is very dangerous to be biking along these so-called bike routes. I really want that to change. So if anyone has some recommendations for actual actionable things I can do, I would love to hear them in the comments. Or just send this clip to your legislator. What's the worst that'll happen? Or take a video of yourself biking along these bike routes that you know are dangerous. It is a personal risk, but change doesn't happen without risk. I just really think that this needs to change. The state of our bike infrastructure is abysmal in this nation. Okay, I am now 50 miles into this bike ride, and I am back on my safe, beautiful bike path along the rail trail. And I just want to point out that if my daily commute was going through that crapshoot that was the last 10 miles I biked, I would not ride a bike on my daily commute. But if my daily commute was this trail, this safe, clean, well-paved trail, I would bike it every day. And I would have a much easier time convincing others to pick up a bike too. Because if this trail, if this was the standard in our nation, I promise you we'd have more bike riders. We would get much better use of our infrastructure. But if our bike system is comprised solely of the last 10 miles that I biked, I agree with the majority of America insofar as biking is not a viable means of transportation. We can make our bike paths so much better. I just want to respond ahead of time to several of the comments and questions that I'm sure I'll get over time. The first of which is being, why should I spend my hard-earned tax money on a bike path that I won't even use? Well, that's a good question. Discounting the fact that our governance is designed with the explicit intention to provide public services to our populace, and a bike path is a public service. Despite that, another way I respond to that is, how do you know you won't use it? What if it's built and suddenly you have the urge to go biking? Maybe you don't want to go biking right now because the infrastructure doesn't exist, but maybe once it exists, you will go biking. Also, we spend so much on public transportation. I would like to answer a question with another question of, why is our nation spending my hard-earned tax dollars on oil and gas subsidies? I don't use oil and gas. I have an electric car. Whatever your answer to that question is, I want to use that same answer to answer this first question. Another question I'm sure I'll get is, what do we do about roads that have no additional space to accommodate bikes? Well, there are several options I can think of off the top of my head. Take away a lane of roads. Try to build around it. Expand the bike path in a different direction to start with, so that ultimately you can link back up with the original road. And I'm sure there are a bunch of other solutions that people much smarter than myself have thought of. Another concern I'm sure I'd get is, we don't have the manpower to accomplish a goal this big. Why not? Why not take some of the people who are currently working on our driving roads and allocate them to bike roads? Sure, the road maintenance will dip in quality slightly for a couple of years, but once the bike paths are finished, you're good. And I'm sure that as the bike paths start to be built, more people will opt to join the building process, making it go faster and allowing American companies to get more money. What's wrong with stimulating the United States economy, huh? Okay, time for a pop quiz. This is an open-ended question. Why do you think college campuses have so many bikes on them? As in, why do you think university students bike so much around college campuses? I'll give you a moment to answer. So all those responses, while good, pale in comparison to my answer. And my theory, personally, is that college campuses offer safe, convenient bike transportation along major paths that get to every destination that a college student could want to get to. College campuses are small, spanning no more than a couple miles tops. So biking is, in a lot of cases, a fast and reliable mean of transit. There are bike racks everywhere at every building where you can park your bike at, and the paths are lit at night. There's water fountains all over the place. Everything a student could need: food, shelter, education, employment. It's all in a close radius with the reliable paths to each place via bike. I don't think that the college students are biking because they're in college. I think they're biking because they are given a utility that allows them to engage in this mode of transit. When our towns are so spread apart, when there's no bike parking at any of our local businesses or shops, when there's a bike route that's on the side of the road with a tiny median and no lighting at night, oftentimes cluttered with trash, gravel, and nails from construction, that's not a hospitable place to bike. But when there's smooth, clean, well-paved trails that go to places people actually want to get to and are fairly close too, that's when you see incredible usage of bike paths. And I have a theory that if we just shrunk the size of our towns a little bit, not by removing any businesses, but by removing parking lots, getting buildings closer together, not requiring single unit development. But instead allowing units to share a parking lot, stack them taller, right? I think we would see a lot more usage of bikes if we build the infrastructure to respond to them. Because right now everything is car-centric, and when things are car-centric, that's all it can be. But when we're revolving around bikes, suddenly walking is more accessible, rollerblading is more accessible, skateboarding is more accessible, wheelchair usage is accessible, and all of these accessibility features for more of the public suddenly open up. So I would like to call on the United States government to devote 5% of the yearly budget that goes towards roads and highways to building more bike paths. Fund local initiatives to connect everything by bike path. Fund the East Coast Greenway. Get more bike accessibility all over the place. And you will see an incredible return, especially because then there will be less cars on the road. And you don't have to maintain those expensive roads as much. And there will be less traffic. And people will be healthier. You want to make America healthy again? Build more bike lanes. Okay, I'm at mile 60. My butt hurts so much. And my legs are starting to chafe. My legs are also pretty tired. But I'm on the good stretch now. Yeah, it's all technically speaking uphill from here. But it's a very gentle slope, and I'm on just a lovely bike path to go on. I just had to take a short break because I found this beautiful little alcove to sit at. I'm gonna enjoy the other half of my sandwich. I'll probably get back going in like 5 minutes, 10 minutes after I finish the sandwich. I should be able to make it back to my car by about 7 p.m. Only 15 to 20 more miles left to go. So one of the main value adds of biking to me is that I don't get bug bites when I'm biking. I'm going so fast the mosquitoes can't catch me. Which is unfortunate because I did stop for about 10 minutes to eat my sandwich and I have 7 mosquito bites. I'm only an hour away. I won't stop to scratch them because if I stop to scratch them, I'll get bitten more. One of the issues of being out in nature is sometimes you have to engage with the nature. A worthwhile price. Okay, I'm mile 65, and I'm starting to become fatigued. I just did the calculations, and if I was walking this at 20 minutes per mile, I would have walked for 21 miles. And you know, that is typically around the limit of my walking for the day, if I am walking in a day. 20 miles really does sort of seem to be the general consensus for my body of how many miles is the right amount of miles in a day. And it seems to be that the biking equivalent is 65 miles. It's more just to do with, I guess, 7 hours of walking level exertion. My legs are actually starting to get really tired. And biking, even on this beautiful and pleasant bike trail, is starting to get a bit unpleasant. Alright, this is absurd. I blame Google this time, although I still think that the Greenway should have signage showing which direction their trail needs to go, because I ended right back up on this stupid gravel trail that I have to walk my bike down, because Google told me that this was the best biking route to get to my car, but it's not, because I looked at the Greenway trail map and they advised that I continue going down roads. Still not the greatest, but it would be better than this. But at this point, I'm like, I don't really want to bike on roads anymore, because on the path that I was riding on, there was no shoulder and it was actually dangerous and cars were whizzing by me like a foot away from me at 50 miles an hour. So I'd rather walk my bike down this inhospitable bike trail than ride my bike down a trail that might kill me. But it's really important. That's what I have to choose between my literal safety or an inconvenient trail that I can't bike down. Oh, there's just no winning on a bike. This is the state of our nation's bike infrastructure, I guess, in a sample size of 1. Okay, 8.5 hours and 75 miles later, I am back in my car. Oh, it's so good to see it. This has been a really mixed emotional ride, because I have experienced the absolute heights of what bike transit can be and the absolute worst elements of what bike transit can be. For a full 40 miles of this trip, I was on smooth, level, safe, paved bike routes. But for the other 35 miles, I was in cities. I was navigating between cars. I was on a 1-foot median with 45-mile-an-hour cars whizzing by me. I almost got sideswiped like 3 times. I lost the trail a bunch of times because there was no signage pointing me in the right direction. And it's really unfortunate because for the moments, for the miles and miles that was quality pavement, it was divine. And it's something I would recommend to anyone and everyone. Say, get on this bike path and ride it for as long as you can. But the fact that it ends is really disappointing. And the fact that it ends with so little direction on where to go next is even worse. I know I expressed a lot of harsh views towards the bike infrastructure today, but at the end of the day, I am actually very happy that this bike infrastructure exists. It can always be better. Anything can always be better. But I think that's kind of the point, is that I want to strive to make it better. I want this to be the best version of itself that it can be. And the only way to do that is to ride the trails and to get out there and show there is interest in better bike infrastructure. So if you take one thing away from this vlog, it's get on your bike. If you have a bike, get on it, ride around. If you don't have one, consider buying one. Look up a local bike co-op near you. Secondhand bikes are super cheap and very reasonable purchases. Or if you don't have a bike and you don't want to get a bike, next time you're driving your car, take a look around at the bike infrastructure signs. Try to see that bike route sign on the side of your 45-mile-an-hour highway and really think about how safe you would feel if you were on a bike riding on that road. Because there really is a reason why bike riders are so aggressive and hostile to cars. It's because they feel danger every time they have to bike on roads. And while I don't agree with a lot of decisions cyclists will make in terms of aggression towards cars, I get it. It's kind of scary to be biking on these very fast roads with practically no protection, and cars that seem to spite you, driving fast and getting really close to you. Like it's not a pleasant or easy experience to be a cyclist in the United States. So I guess just if you're in a car, have a bit more compassion. If you're on a bike, have a bit more patience. And for all of us, let's email our legislators. Let's tell them that we want and need better bike paths, and that it's a priority. Yeah, this was a really fun day and a really worthwhile use of 8.5 hours of my time. I don't know if I'm going to do it again, but maybe in Florida when the trail picks back up, we'll see what happens. All right, signing off. See you guys later.